Hey guys, good afternoon. I am doing this art stream to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of my webcomic, 7-Inch Kara. You guys can find it at 7inchkara.com or 7inchkara.tumblr.com. I have found that in some of my prior streams, when I'm frequently able to check the chat, I'm moving very slowly. So I'm only going to be checking the chat sporadically, but I do promise I'm going to narrate my actions. So hopefully people who are watching this stream after it's aired can follow along if they want. So for today, my materials are going to be a block bound pad of Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is cotton rag watercolor paper. I did my pink line art using a pink color Eno pencil. I am using various synthetic brushes to paint this. I have a cup of water off screen, a small ceramic multi-weld palette, and I may go grab another one. This might not be enough. I'm going to be painting with, and it's been a really long time since I've used either, so it's going to be a bit of a learning process for me. Ecoline liquid watercolors and Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid watercolors. So I think that is about everything. So I want to go ahead and get started by doing some swatching to just make sure the colors I've already kind of selected are going to work. I've tried to pick colors that are light and fun and have some room to shade. So I'm going to just move these out of the way. They were just here to show you guys my materials. Although these are the colors I do plan on swatching. I just need room to do so. And of course I would start off with an Ecoline bottle that just absolutely wow, this camera is, let me see if I can do anything about it. I apologize for this camera. I have a stubborn bottle on my hands, so I'm going to go grab a rubber band and be right back. Enjoy our music. While I was up, Joseph tried to slay the autofocus beast. Unfortunately, he was not able to do that, but hopefully we can fix it for next time. So the new Ecoline bottles have a little eyedropper top. The old ones are actually a little bit smaller and do not. Oh, it's also got like a weird little kind of ball at the tip. That's probably to add some structure so it's not so fragile. And I've got here a Raphael soft aqua brush. Been trying to find synthetic brushes that I like that perform well. So I hope everybody has had a good weekend, maybe a relaxing weekend. It is a super rainy day today here in Nashville, so my dry times might be a little bit longer. That's a beautiful color, but that is not as brown as I thought it would be. So when it comes to these sort of dye-based colors, I'm pretty terrible at mixing nice colors. So it's handy to have a scrap piece of paper, a little bit off to the side, just to sort of practice that. The third swatch is 422 by Ecoline, which is reddish brown, which is, I mean, it's like a beautiful ruby color, or even like a blood red. So maybe layered over prior colors, it'll work well for what I want it for. And some of these colors, that's golden brown there, and above it was pumpkin. Some of these colors may have evaporated a bit because I've had some of these PH Martins for about 10 years now, and I use them very infrequently. So in case anybody's curious, from top to bottom so far, we have 374 with Ecoline, which is pink beige. I'm probably going to use that for the skin tone. We have 381, which is pastel red. We have 422, red brown. Then we have PH Martin's 30C pumpkin and 26B golden brown. Those are sort of the base colors I was thinking of using for Kara's skin, blush, and hair. Now I'm swatching 50D Ice Blue. So I'm kind of working on the colors that I might use in the cupcake itself. I'm going to have to switch out my water. I want to see if this can be blended out to kind of a nice white color. It looks like it will. My water cup is pretty dirty, so I should probably go rinse that out in a minute. In that these colors here, these 5 colors here, already kind of really polluted the water, so I'll probably be making frequent water breaks. Or I may even employ the 2-cup method, which is really my recommended method of painting with watercolor anyway. I just don't adhere to my own advice because I tend to have space considerations. Also cats. That last color was 21B Ultra Blue. Next is 4060 Sunrise Pink. So my thought process when selecting colors for this was to pick very light colors to start out with instead of trying to get all of my hues. So treat it more like I treat my alcohol markers than like I treat my watercolors, if that makes sense to y'all. So select some light hues and also utilize more layering. Thought that might work a little bit better since, like alcohol markers, these are dye-based. This is 19B Wild Rose. That's a really beautiful color there. And what I'm looking for right now is I have kind of my base, my lighter tone, and then I have my shadow or darker tone. So I'm just making sure that they will look like they would actually go together. Now I have Ecoline 666 Pastel Green. Oh, actually, what I'd like to do, really quick, clean out my brush and just blend out Sunrise Pink just to see how it looks when it's been blended out. So we have Pastel Green. And in the past, people used to comment that my art tutorial videos were a bit like art ASMR. So that's definitely what today is going to be like. Very low key, very soft spoken, maybe even a little bit sleepy. Okay, so that was Ecoline Pastel Green. Next is Ice Green, and this one is P.H. Martin's. As always, if you guys want to sketch along while I paint, or if you want to paint yourself, you are very much welcome to. That's one of the highest compliments I can get, is when someone tells me they're working along with me. It's like, we're working together. So that was Ice Green. Next is Calypso Green. And you have to make sure you shake your P.H. Martins because they do tend to settle out. I think the last time I used these for a full piece, I was working on the Search for Cat Bug spread I did for Viz many years ago. Ooh, that's nice. It's a good shamrocky green, and that is 41C Calypso Green. Now I have some yellows coming up, so I'm probably going to go switch out my water, since if any color is going to show pollution, it's going to be yellows. And now I know how to mix the black I'm going to want. I just mix all of these colors together, and that'll give me a nice black. So next up is 40C Ice Yellow. And it seems that Joseph is keeping an eye on the chat for me, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much. I kind of thought it was going to be, what I thought might happen was I thought I might be minding this all by myself. And I figured I would just moderate after the fact or answer questions during Friday's Power Hour stream. Next is 15B Daffodil Yellow. But if you, for as long as Joseph is here and minding the chat, if you do have any questions about what I'm currently working on, let me know and he'll let me know, or let him know and he'll let me know. So you guys can see this is an old one. It's already clogged pretty good in there. I think at another time I'll have to investigate with a needle and try to remove the clog, because there's a lot of pigment. Well, not, these are dye-based. They're not necessarily pigment, but there's also a lot of sedimentation with these paints. They're very interesting. Okay, so 15B Daffodil Yellow. then we have 48D Fuchsia. And I don't always swatch before watercolor paintings, but I definitely swatch before I do alcohol marker pieces. And these kind of behave a little bit more like alcohol markers, so. I've even tried filling them in, filling fountain pens with them because they are very similar to fountain pen ink, and you could probably use many fountain pen inks as liquid watercolors because most liquid watercolors, not all, Hydrous is a big exception in my mind, but most liquid watercolors are dye-based, so they're very light fugitive, but that way you get all of these really nice kind of neons and very intense colors. So if you're painting with liquid watercolors, I do recommend you take steps to preserve your colors. Put them in UV protective bags, under UV protective glass, don't store them in direct sunlight, etc. And that was 49D Raspberry, very pretty color. And then we have 20 B Cyclamen. And I have the rest of my range on hand. I have a sizable collection, but not a full collection. I've been collecting them for over 10 years, so you know. Some places charge $10 a bottle for these. They do last a really long time. Mine are so empty just because I tried filling fountain pens with them. But otherwise, they would have a lot more watercolor in them if I hadn't done that. Ooh, that's a little bit, that's really pretty. I just laid it on thick, so it's hard for me to tell what the color is going to really look like. But I think this is a pretty solid collection of colors for this painting. And I'm going to go through them with you guys just one more time so you know what we're working with today. Oh, I also have Echo Line White, and you guys saw that it's set a minute out. It's got a bit of pigment in it. So what I'm going to do, and this is not the only white I'm going to use. I'm going to use Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, which is a favorite of mine. We're just going to make a little box right here. Give it a couple minutes to dry, and then we're going to test the opacity on this. I think this is more of a mixing white or to add a little bit of opacity to your other colors because dye-based colors like this, they really seem to scintillate while they're still wet, but they can get quite flat after they've dried. They're dyes for the most part. I think the white might be the only one that contains pigments. So I'm not sure you can make, pigments and dyes are very interesting. I have a long blog post about pigments and dyes. Basically, if you wanted to make a pigment out of a dye, you'd be making a lake pigment, and that's when you sediment the particles out of your dye. And lake pigments tend to be more light fast and less prone to lifting. Nada Makes is a YouTube channel that I really like. She makes pigments and dyes at home, and she's made them out of things like red cabbage. All right, I'm gonna go change my water cup because it is pretty polluted and it's not really a good test for the white, and then I will be right back. You have to shake this really, really well because it is very prone to sedimenting. Now I do have some Hydrous watercolors, and I would love to do something with those on camera for you guys as well. It's been on my to-do list. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you'd like to see a comparison video, let me know. All right, that is the white. And my brush has some pink in it, but you can see that at least when it goes down, the coverage is pretty good. And it completely pollutes the water. I'll show you guys. And I'm mentioning water pollution because it's always kind of important, but when you're working with dye-based watercolors, because they're so translucent, that sort of pollution becomes apparent very quickly in your piece. give a shout out to Tenor, the creator of My Dad is a Magical Girl webcomic, for giving me the suggestion to run music in the background during the stream, just so that you guys know I haven't completely died. It was an excellent suggestion, and it seemed to work out quite well. I'm using Fubar just to kind of run background music, and while I kind of wait for these to dry, I'll go through today's playlist. Apache Tomcat-Stormy Moods Orchestra, Apache Tomcat-Digital Paw Print, Apache Tomcat La Hacienda, Chris Zabriskie Rewound, Chris Zabriskie Air Hockey Saloon, and Little Glass Men Blackout and Blue. And all of these were downloaded with permission from the Free Music Archive. So if you're looking for music for your own streams or for your own channel, that could be a great place to start. I think so, actually. I think it could be used for white accents, sort of the way the white in the Kuretake brush pen is. So this is not a fully opaque white, and this thing is super prone to jamming. So this is not a recommendation of this, but it seems to have about the same consistency, and it does seem to have pretty decent coverage. If you guys would like a very quick comparison, give that a sec to dry. So what I like about the bleed proof white, which might not be a selling point for everyone, is it tends to dry out, and you can just reconstitute it with some tap water, and that way you can kind of get whatever coverage or whatever consistency you like. It's like working with gouache. So I can get a really, really thick application or a really thin one, depending on how much water I add. With the Echo line, so some comic artists talk about, if you don't like the consistency of the ink you're inking with, the black ink you're inking with specifically, you leave it uncovered for a little while so that it evaporates and it condenses a bit. You could probably do that with the Echo line. I just haven't experimented with that particular one. So, I don't know. I'll go switch out my water. We'll give these a chance to dry. Maybe that'll answer your question a little bit better. Last time I got up, I was telling Joseph that if I didn't work upstairs in a carpeted studio, what would be really handy is to just have a dump bucket on the side and then just refill my cup from like a water bottle or a pitcher of water. So if we ever move to a larger studio space, that's definitely something I'm going to consider. So you guys can maybe see that some of the colors do change a little bit as they dry out, and I'm going to catch a photo of it because I know this camera doesn't necessarily accurately reflect color 100%. It has been calibrated. It's still a little sepia toned, but that's okay because hopefully you guys are not watching this for 100% color accuracy. That's why I have been kind of not doing unboxing swatches as a stream event. I think that would be a really fun thing to do, but I think color accuracy is very important for the unboxing swatches. So I'm going to move these over here, and we have our anniversary image already sketched, and I've erased the majority of the pink lines. I'm just going to get reorganized a tag because I do have a brush rest over here, and off camera I have a paper towel with all my brushes resting on it, because what's the point of a brush rest? As well as a couple of ceramic painting dishes, and this one I thought would be really neat with the concentrated watercolors. In fact, that's why I bought it, was I thought this would be perfect for concentrated watercolors. You could go to Dollar Tree and just get a white ceramic plate for some of your color mixing as well. So I need to do something with the background. I like how I've decided all my other colors, but not my background color. And the reason I want to do that is this is probably going to be our loosest, wettest wash. So I have a couple of colors that are not currently represented in what we just swatched. I have Ecoline 508, which is, I know it's got the color name somewhere. Help me out, Prussian blue. And then I also have 12A Juniper Green. I know that's cheating. It's not really what we want to be doing. But I'm gonna, ooh, okay. And then even more. So this is very pretty in a very light shade. And I'm gonna do the same thing with Prussian blue. And I like that they have droppers now. It's so handy, because I'm going to have to go grab droppers for 381 and 422. Okay, and this is definitely more of a blue. So I'm really leaning towards that beautiful juniper green. The Prussian blue is quite pretty too, but the juniper green is a color that isn't already represented in the palette. And since we're working with dye-based watercolors, it's kind of fun to just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks and make a mess. So this one is this one here. And I'm going to keep checking in with this since you guys asked about the opacity. And I thought that was a really good question. I would not put it in a fountain pen. I don't know if that's coming up next, but I would not put any pigmented white, anything in a fountain pen, because it's going to clog it. And you could probably salvage your pen, but you're going to regret having done it. And these things are concentrated, so they go a super long way. And I need to go grab some droppers. So the brush I just used was a Pentel Neo Sable. So these are intended to replicate kind of sumi brushes. I've seen a lot of artists on like Instagram and even on YouTube using these for watercolor. But I actually have a pretty wide range of brushes today. I can show them to you guys. I'll move this over to the side. So today I'm going to be working with, and I may end up grabbing a water brush too, depending. We have so we actually have several. I'll grab all of them. We can get those done at the same time. 3 Silver Black Velvet. These are synthetic squirrel mix. I really, really like these. They can be a little bit pricey compared to other synthetic squirrel mixes, but they are great. I have 2 Princeton Neptune brushes. These are pretty old, but they've held up quite well. And as I go through them, I want you guys to look at, these are all rounds, I think. Yes, all of these were sold as rounds, except for the Pentel Neo Sable. That was sold as a sumi brush. But these are all rounds, and they're all cut differently. And that's kind of why I have a problem with synthetics, is that this is more of the point I want in a round. This is harder for me to get a point with. Then we have a Raphael Soft Aqua, which has a really nice point. I actually like this one pretty well. We have 2 Scepter Golds, I believe. Nope. We have 1 Scepter Gold, which is a Sable Synthetic by Winsor Newton. These are alright. They pull a good point. We have a cheap Daler Rowney that's fairly stiff. I think I'm going to use that for white accents. We have a Princeton Velvet Touch, which is also a little bit, it's kind of almost like a little bit stiffer than a Kolinsky Sable. We have a Black Mimic Creative Mark, and then we have a Utrecht Red Sable, which is their word for synthetic. And they're all cut a little bit differently. Some of them are very, very bluntly cut. Some of them are very, very tapered. Some of them have a nice full belly or can replicate a full belly. What I'm looking for when I'm buying brushes for watercolor is that it comes to a nice point and it has a kind of a rounded belly, and that's going to hold more water, it's going to hold more paint, and it's going to be less prone to just dripping everywhere. So before I apply paint to my paper, I'm going to wet my brush off camera, and we're going to just swatch the juniper wash we made. Alright, that's rather pretty. It's going to dry a little bit lighter than it goes down, as is the curse. So something that can be very fun with these kind of paints is, you know, I'm a salty lass. I've got some kosher salt right here. So it's a pretty wet day outside. I think this should dry pretty slowly. We'll see. Washes always make me a little bit anxious because if I'm trying to work around details, then the other area ends up drying, and that's how I end up with streaking. Something else that can be kind of fun with this is applying whatever you're going to do, like your base colors, and then going at it with a spray bottle to get some of those colors to move around on you. So I'm not working with a big mop brush. I'm working with one of the Black Swans because even the larger ones pull a pretty nice point. And I do have these areas to kind of reserve. Now, if you're looking for some really great inspiration for people who paint with liquid watercolors regularly, I believe Nashi Manga, I believe that's the name, uses these for most pieces. And something I noticed in her time lapses is that she uses alcohol markers, it seems like, to color the skin and other areas that might be prone to bleeding. And I thought that could be a really nice combination because although both are utilizing dyes as their color, they're using 2 different mediums to carry that color. And alcohol markers are not water solvent, so they're not going to react when you add a layer of water to them. You can also, and I haven't tried this, and I probably should do that on air so we can actually find out together. I wouldn't necessarily go, so my order of operations would be alcohol marker and then watercolor, but because I would be afraid of the alcohol marker, the nib getting damaged, picking up some of the dye base color. But that's something we can play with in the future. And now these sort of dye based liquid watercolors tend to be extremely water reactive. I should actually start spreading my salt because they're already starting to dry. And it seems to be a mixture of salt and cat hair, because who is surprised? I'll just do a little bit. I'm not trying to do snowflakes so much as I'm trying to kind of break up just having a flat wash of blue. Something else I've noticed, watercolor artists who use liquid watercolors frequently, they seem to put them in those like wells and then allow them to evaporate and then just reactivate a little bit. And it seems like that's a good way to kind of control how saturated your piece ends up being, since these have a tendency of getting really, really saturated. Let's see if I can blend that out a little bit. It would be my luck that on a rainy day we're getting streaking. And on a cotton rag paper too. Cellulose papers seem to be a little bit more prone to drying quickly, and I think the reason for that is cotton rag papers pull color, they pull the water into the fibers and kind of lock them in, whereas cellulose papers, everything kind of stays on the surface. So they do dry, cellulose papers tend to dry faster, a little bit more streaky, and they can be a little more prone to lifting. So if I'd wanted to get a completely flat wash with this, I could have masked out the cupcake and the little carrot topper using masking fluid and then just applied a very fast wash. So you can see there's a little bit of salt activation going on around it. I have a little bit of pooling, so I'm going to go ahead and just pick that up. A little bit more salt here and there. Not trying to get too salty. And I'm going to let that dry. So now would be a great break if you want to go grab something to eat, if you want to take a bathroom break. Now would be a really good time. I'm going to turn off my audio and let the music play and check on it in probably 5 minutes. while I wait for this to dry, I'm going to set it aside just for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and replaced my cup of water, but I'm going to put some color, basically the beige and the pastel red, into these little ceramic wells. It's a little bit like medicine, isn't it? That should be plenty, I think. And I'm keeping my colors in order, just like I do when I do marker stuff. This will be fun. I'm looking forward to trying out a technique I've seen Nashi use. So, a little while ago, Maddie had asked if let me find it, the Echo Line White could be used as an opaque white medium, and it looks like the answer is yes. That pink is a little bit of pollution that was from my brush from my mixing water. So there isn't really any pink in the Echo Line itself. And it seems like if you really apply it thickly, it's about as opaque as the P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White. It's a little bit more liquidy, so it wouldn't necessarily require some of the pre-prep or mixing that you might need with the P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. Now, I've never tried reactivating this, so why don't we do that? Why don't we see if either of them will reactivate? And it looks like yes. You can kind of blend out or mix out, lift out the Echo Line White. I was scrubbing at it pretty hard. And let's do the Bleed Proof White. You can lift this one. I think though, prior tests have shown me that if I allow the Bleed Proof White to really dry overnight, it will become more permanent, hence the bleed proof, or partially hence the bleed proof. I don't know if the same is also true for the Echo Line. As I keep pointing out, it's a rainy day today. That definitely makes things dry a little bit funky. So it could be well worthwhile to retest it on a dry day and see if that really makes the difference. And move this just so I don't get salt in it. Still a little bit damp, so I'm gonna let it finish, but you guys can see the salt blooming. I wish we'd gotten a little bit more up here. These are cute. They're like little snowflakes. These are a little bit bigger. A fun technique with this is to turn them into flowers with like an ink pen or even with some additional color, which I may end up doing today. We'll see. So I'm going to let it dry a bit more, and then I'm going to brush away all that salt with a drafting brush. So since I'm still kind of waiting for this to dry and we have a moment and we're talking about sedimentation in the chat, Maddie pointed out that they believe these sort of paints are made with powdered dye pigments, or I'm sorry, dye powder, my mistake. I think that's a really interesting concept. I'm sure it can be bought on the market somewhere. In the past, I've played around with soap dyes, concentrated soap dyes, to see if they could be used for as a liquid watercolor substitute, but I think they have a little bit too much glycerin in them. So I went ahead and I pulled out some of my Hydrous watercolors. These are made with pigments and they are suspended in water, and you can basically make your own sort of liquid pigment-based watercolors at home. You do that anytime you're mixing water with watercolor. And these probably have distilled water in them, which would prevent them from spoiling maybe, or perhaps like a preservative and extender. You definitely have to shake these because they are very prone to sedimenting out. And I think Indian Yellow of this batch is the most apparent, where you can see the sediment. But it would make sense if these are made using powdered dyes. It would make sense that eventually they fall out of solution. And then, whoa, check this out. My camera is not going to capture this color. This color is really cool. But look, it's spidered out up there. I don't know that I've ever... This is an inexpensive cellulose paper, but I don't know that I've ever really seen it do it. Now, I'm pointing this out because this is a hot neon pink. This is a very hot pink. The colors on camera are beautiful. They're really more my favorite kind of colors. The cameras in real life are very intense. So I'm taking photos to kind of better capture what these colors look like, but they really pack a punch. Okay, this is almost dry. Hey Hunter, good afternoon. So I'm kind of debating whether I want to, if this were regular watercolor, not dye-based watercolor, I would just go ahead and continue making progress. I have had so many problems with dye-based watercolor that it's definitely making me kind of rethink how I approach my process. But I think I'm going to go and head over to the trash can and brush off the salt with a drafting brush. So I will be right back. So with these sort of dye-based watercolors, I think the best order of operations is to work with colors that are going to be very diluted and then work more saturated as you go. So I think, I'm going to use dye blue to do kind of the white areas. And we only need the littlest bit of ice blue. That might even be too little. We'll find out. Because with watercolor, you can always go darker. And this is super pale, so I think darker is a way we're going to have to go. It's also picking up some of the pink, which I'm fine with. That's an effect I knew would be likely to happen. Look at that. It just kind of sunk to the bottom of the water. And while it's still wet, I'll drop in some of the blue so we can get kind of a diffused wet into wet blue. And I can pull details into that a little bit later. Okay, now I'm going to move this out of the way for a moment, move this in. Get rid of that huge fleck of rice. Not rice, salt. And start with the first layer of our skin tone. And I had a lot of water on the brush, so I just kind of mixed it in this other palette so we get a more uniform light beige color. And I have the darker one right there. Give those a moment to dry. While I wait for that to dry, I'm going to grab a little bit of pastel green. Trying to think about where I want to put it because I do want to leave room in here for my other colors. But what is nice about ceramic is you can just take a paper towel and wipe it out if you need to replace it. Looks like the first layer on her skin has dried, so I'm going to dry out my brush now and grab some of the more concentrated beige. And I wonder if we let it evaporate, if we're going to get a darker, more intense version. looks good. It'll be interesting to see how it looks when it evaporates. And I'm just kind of checking to see if there's any shine on the paper, which would indicate that there's still water on the surface. And now I'm using Pastel Green, number 666 from Ecoline. Getting a little bit of bleeding up there, that's okay with me. And I mixed it with a bit of water in this tiny well. Actually, I'm going to skip out on ice green because, and it won't show up here unfortunately, this is more neon than this. So I should have, if I was going to start with anything, I should have started with this one. So I'll go ahead and put that back into my lineup. If her skin up here, it's a little damp, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to use a little bit of pastel red. As well as a little bit more concentrated ice blue. I'm using that to kind of paint in the shadows on the clover blossom. It's a little bit more shadowy than I'd wanted, so I'm going to take the diluted ice blue. Kind of blend that out a little bit. Bet we can pick this up with a paper towel. What on the go thing? I don't know, could you be a little bit more specific? On the go thing. What on the go thing? does not want to lift. That's kind of surprising. Better to find that out early, though. Adding a little bit more ice blue. Oh, okay. Before I start working things too much, I should probably do the main body of the main body of the cupcake, because that's going to use a lot of color. So do you guys think, we have a lot of blue going on right now, do you think it should be a pink cupcake or a yellow cupcake? Or should I do her dress in yellow? I think I should do her dress in yellow, and we'll go with a pink cupcake. So we'll start with ice pink because it's, or sunrise pink, sorry, because it is basically neon. And I'll grab a quick photo. As well as, let's go with the Aqua, the Raphael Aqua. Which is full of cat hair for some reason. Gee, I wonder why. Anyway, I'm doing kind of a first layer wash with this very light pink because it will allow me to build up more color. And then hopefully, okay, so that's not a much darker version of it. I was going to do some wet into wet, building up color and shadow on one side, but there doesn't really seem to be too much difference. Good knowledge to have though. And I will mix in a little bit of Wild Rose, which is the next color I want to do with this. And let's go ahead and start with her dress with Triaminic Yellow, Ice Yellow. And I'm keeping things simple because this is the first time in a long time I've worked with liquid watercolors. So I have a lot of room to grow and a lot of room to learn. I find that when I'm practicing with a new material, it's better for me to just do something kind of simple so I can figure out, you know, what works, what doesn't work. I wanted to darken up her skin just a little bit. So while I wait for all that to dry, I can start working again on the Shamrocks. Oh, you know what? I should have mixed the two together. Let's do that. Let's grab a little bit. Of, what is that? Calypso Green, and we're mixing it with Pastel Green. And Shamrocks kind of have a layer or a ring of white or very light green. Not every Shamrock, but mint clover, I guess I should say, tends to. So I'm trying to leave that. So I paint the outside circle first, the inside circle afterwards, and then I just leave it. Fill it in and leave it. I think it's turning out all right. Although I am putting down a lot of paint. Oh, I did the inside circle first this time. Let's try doing the outside circle. That works well too. I'm also trying to leave a little bit of like highlight where like maybe the sun would be hitting it. And then I accidentally, no, we'll fix this. We'll do a thin line of green around it. I think these two ended up cuter than the first one. Is this cupcake dry? No, it's still a little wet. So what do I want to do for the bottom of the cupcake? I want to build up to purple. So we're going to start with fuchsia. Actually, what I should probably do is do the two first. What color do I want to do for that? Maybe we should do some blues, like iris blue and ultra blue for our two. So let's start with ultra blue. Just do it on my other ceramic palette. It's a very blue. Maybe I should have done the other one now that I think about it. Well, we'll try it and we'll see. Give that a chance to dry. And we were going to do yellow for her dress. So I've got ice yellow right here. Then I should probably do whatever I'm going to do with these candies that are kind of in the middle there. So many options. Well, doing purple for the bottom. And I don't want it to be like color vomit explosion. Maybe I should just be brave and try to fill in the rest and then decide, like I would normally do when trying to decide on colors. All right, so we have a mix here of Sunrise Pink and Wild Rose, and it looks like it might be a bit intense. It is a bit intense. And this brush is a bit difficult to maneuver. So I'm trying to be really, really careful because I know I'm kind of struggling with it today. And it's like marker intense. Not feeling that. I think I should have done a lot more Sunrise Pink. A lot less Wild Rose. That is a pretty significant step in color between the two. I wonder if we could put, I'm not saying we should, but I wonder if we could put these in empty Copic sketches and make possibly the ultimate water-based marker. What do y'all think about that? Grab that wild pink. Sunrise Pink. What am I even? Come on, Becca. Get it together, girl. And I didn't even clean my brush, and I did that on purpose so I could mix the color a little bit better. All right. This was not what I had in mind. I'm going to try to roll with it though. Try to make it work. That's what a lot of art is. It's just making it work, figuring it out. Okay. I mean, it is like collection of primary colors making me uncomfortable over here. I am not a bright colors kind of gal. I am a muted colors kind of gal. So this is a challenge for me. That's okay though. Challenging yourself is good. What it tells me is that I really need to practice with these. I need to use them in different ways. I need to maybe be more light-handed with what I'm doing. There's a lot of room for growth here. Okay, so this is Daffodil Yellow. And I'll actually mix some with the ice yellow we had, because ice yellow is like atomic yellow. Like I should probably be working with these in a more diluted way. And probably make it a point to practice with them more. It's definitely my #1 tip if you're struggling with any media. It's just practice with it more, put more time into it. Okay, so I have fuchsia here. I'm going to start on the bottom of that cupcake. Also, I'm not really liking the Raphael brush, so I'm going to put it to the side. It's going in purgatory. It's going in timeout. Bad brush timeout. Oh, fuchsia would have been a better color than wild rose now that I look at it, because it's more pink. That's going to be hot pink though, according to my swatch sheet. I mean, we could have had a really hot pink cupcake, y'all. Okay, so I'm afraid we're going to find out. Oh yeah, it's starting to run. That's okay. We've got other layers to do. We're going to be delicate. We're going to be careful. Yeah, I think next time I work with these, I'm going to leave more islands of white, because I think that's a big part of the problem. Also, I'm going to try, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try blending this out. It says no. Is it supposed to look like a Katamari? No, but it's okay if it does. It was supposed to look like a super fancy cupcake with like fancy candies, like a cushion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It's just the spacing is very Katamari-like.
Mm-hmm. I guess I should have. Yeah, like it definitely looks like Katamari. Especially because she's like rolling on top. Like she'd be the cousin to like run on top of it. Yeah. Oh well. I like your head cannon better than I like mine. Reordering things because I realized or figured something out. And I'm waiting for this to dry and trying to decide. I'll just make those white because I'm a coward. Actually, because I have a lot of color going on right now. So I don't own a lot of neutral colors when it comes to concentrated watercolor because, let's face it, when you have all of these beautiful bright colors with all the intensity of the sun, why would you buy neutrals? But I also, although I like bright colors, I don't paint with them very often, so it's like I don't know how to use them or what to do with them. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me while I kind of figure things out and get my bearings. Also, oh well, that was too concentrated. That was me working from some of the ice blue that had like evaporated. See, the problem with this is I should probably be working a lot looser. I either need to be working much tighter or much looser, because right now I'm just working in what looks like sloppy. Let's start with her hair. We're going to start with Pumpkin. I'm going to move these aside. What I've learned is that I need a bigger one of these, and I actually have a bigger one of those in plastic. I just need to find it. What am I even going to do her freckles with? I did do the skin tone. The camera's just not doing a good job picking it up. What this is really telling me is I need to be practicing with these more. I also feel like I'm having an easier time with the Eco lines than I am with the Dr. P.H. Martins. Does anyone else have that experience, or is that just a unique user experience, a one-off? So I'm using Pumpkin. I kind of reordered the colors a bit. I'm using Pumpkin to start her hair. Maybe I'll just do one layer on her hair. Maybe that's my other problem, is I'm trying to do too many layers. Too much hair for sure. Also think I need to be watching more of what other people are doing and trying to learn from that. Maybe not replicate it exactly, but definitely learn from that. I've not spent enough time with these as an apprentice, and I think it shows. I'm trying to do another layer of Indian Yellow. We'll see if that works. Because I'm working with some of these at full saturation. I'm not, they don't necessarily layer the way alcohol markers layer. Oh my gosh, on screen, The pink looks so much better than the pink looks in real life. The pink is bad. Oh, it's bad. Okay, so we did fuchsia. Let's do raspberry. What are you laughing at? Tell me the joke. Fluid 100. So I'm using cellulose paper because in the past when I've tried to work with liquid watercolors, I've painted on cellulose paper and everything, like anytime I tried to do a layer, it lifted. This is way less prone to lifting, but I'm having new problems, different problems. Cold press. For those of you who are more familiar with liquid watercolors, would hot press actually be a better paper for me? I have some Stonehenge Aqua hot press, which I actually really like. Maybe that is the hot press I should be using for this. I have some. No, I have Ecoline marker. I mean, yes, I do want to see it. I'm not shooting you down. I have Ecoline markers as well. And I've done some stuff with them. But I find when I use them, because they have more glycerin than, say, the bottles, they handle differently. Like, even blending them out handles differently. So I tried not to use them together just because I find that it doesn't work well. Like, I did a succulent years ago as my, not years ago, a year ago, as like my Ecoline test, and I used both the bottled stuff and the markers, and that's where I kind of decided they didn't work well for me mixed together. I'm getting a lot of bleeding down here. I'm gonna have to ink. I mean, I figured I was gonna ink this anyway, but I'm gonna have to ink it now. But yeah, I definitely do want to see what you've done with it. I'm not trying to shoot you down. Wait, I already used wild rose, didn't I? Oh, we're gonna do straight wild rose. What am I? But yeah, those would definitely be good for filling in smaller areas or doing tighter details. No, I think there's less glycerin in the bottled version. I also think, though, part of my problem is I'm trying to handle them like watercolors when they have the intensity of markers. There is so much bleeding going on down there. And up here now, too. I guess I must be working in too many layers and with too much water. Or I've damaged the paper surface when I was doing the initial sketch. Or maybe hot press is just really the way to go and cold press has too much texture. There's so many areas to troubleshoot.
Imagine if you didn't know what all those ones were.
I know.
It would just be like things randomly go wrong.
Yep, it would just be like, oh well, I'm bad, is how I would have felt about it. Cause like I'm already like, this is not as cute as I thought it would be, and I'm like already fighting with the like, oh, I guess I must be bad. Where it's like, well, look, there's like a lot of areas where you could have gone wrong.
Go back to working on fluff, yes.
My true calling. And maybe I'm not letting it dry enough, because even though the surface is dry, the interior might not be dry.
Are you dabbing it, or are you just going by looks?
Both. Both.
Does the eco line have less of a chance to reactivate since it's a dye?
They're both dyes. What do you mean by that question? Sorry.
I mean, as opposed to a pigmented watercolor.
I think they're more prone to reactivating than a pigmented watercolor. But they're also more staining. So like they'll lift, but they won't fully lift.
They won't go anywhere, but they'll spread.
Yeah, sounds about right. And I mean, not every medium is right for every artist. So maybe this is just like not a good fit for me at this time. It was fun to be able to try it and hang out with people while doing so. I'm going to skip golden brown, I think, and go right into reddish brown. I mean, the plus side is there's artists who are really good with this, who are sharing, it's time-lapse videos, but they're sharing that online where I can watch them and take notes or practice along with them. So if it's something that I really decide I want to improve at, and it's not going to tell me everything either, like some of them aren't saying like what papers they're using, but I can kind of at least play reasonable guess. I mean, for all I know, they're painting on Bristol board, which maybe they are. I'm getting some bleeding problems. Like, I guess I'll bring in the camera in a moment to show you guys. You don't want to see me bleed. Sometimes I think that's all people on the internet want. Oh, come on. That's so clickbaity. Do artists even bleed? Well, if I ever cut myself real bad or break a leg or something, we can do like a really clickbaity vlog like, do artists bleed ink? Becca goes to the hospital. Let's not do that. That's awful. There's a lot of YouTube celebrities out there who are willing to like monetize, I guess, every aspect of their life. That's not really something I want to do. Not digging it. Maybe my brushes are too soft. Oh yeah. Too much water, too much moisture. I don't know if it's focusing properly, but I don't know. Just have to take photos so you guys can see. But there's like a lot of bleeding up in there. Maybe I'm just working too saturated. Like maybe the real trick is that I should put it in the wells and allow it to evaporate and then try to paint with it. Or maybe I'm painting too small, and if I were painting larger, you know, that kind of bleeding wouldn't be noticeable. Yeah, I really could. I mean, if it works and it looks good, it's not a waste. If that's masking fluid, should work. I did some tests with Pabio masking fluid, their masking fluid pen, to see, like on 2 different papers and with 4 different types of paint, including dye-based paint and watercolor markers, if it would seep under. Because I thought with the dyes, I was like, surely some of the dyes are going to seep under, they're going to stain through, because dyes can be persistent. But not really, not noticeable. And there's a lot of bleeding going on around the frosting too. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might ink it and just let the inks kind of tie it together. I think I've hit the point to, well, it's going to add contrast and black, which could be useful. Or I could ink it with purple, because I don't think purple would look good though. Like, my opportunity to spray this with a spray bottle and kind of loosen it up a bit has probably passed. I've probably added too much to it. Because that's a lot like the announcement image I did. You right, girl. I'm having feelings right now. I'm going to keep my feelings to myself. Nobody needs that kind of negativity. I'm going to do a drop of persimmon to do, because I have like a lot of pinks and I have cherry red, but I don't have, maybe cherry red and persimmon will give me the red I want. So there have been times where I would have gotten to this point with this image, and I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and I would have just like torn it off the block and been like, oh well, I'll have to restart or come up with something else. And I'm pushing today, partially because y'all are hanging out with me and I don't want to behave kind of childishly and just be like, nope, but also because when you hit a point with a piece where you don't like it, sometimes that's just the ugly stage, and sometimes you can push through it and end up creating something you really, really like, or you can learn from it for the next time, or I don't know. I think there is some value in when you don't like how a piece is turning out, persisting with it, if only to figure out what you would do next time. So I'm mixing, what are these? Raspberry and cyclamen, because I don't like how pink the bottom of the cupcake is. And I'm getting kind of sloppy with that too, partially because I'm going to do another layer on it, and partially because, like, I don't know, it just stands out, but not in a good way. Like, it kind of clashes. And that, okay, we got to do something about this cupcake. We got to. What are we going to do about this cupcake? I'm at the point where even if I kind of ruin it, I'm kind of okay with that. So I'm going to go get a spray bottle and be right back. Okay, so I'm going to grab, what do I want to protect? Protect, not attack. Oh, of course you're going to do this. Going to make me tape you, aren't you? Good night, Kara. Go Dodo. I could use magnets, sort of. Or just weight it. I mean, magnets would at least weight it down. This might ruin it, y'all, by the way. Like, we might spray it with water, laugh at it, and then be like, this is bad, and be done. So, just caveating that I'm trying something new. Well, trying something different with this piece. Trying to do something to it, because it needs something. I'm not real sure how to fix that, so I'm just kind of going with my old staple of like, well, let's try spraying some water on it and loosening it up a bit. So I didn't even get a good photo of it before I taped her down, but that's okay. All right, so spray bottle is not the best spray bottle either. What I'm hoping it'll do is just kind of loosen some of these colors up. Bring some movement in. Add some speed lines. I'm gonna remove these two because you can't really leave a masking whatever on there. It's gonna absorb water and cause further problems. I kind of like what's going on with some of this now. That as well. Okay. little bit in her hair, but trying to avoid getting it on her face. Okay. Let's see if this helps or hurts. We'll find out. I kind of think it'll help though, because everything was kind of static, kind of loose. Not loose, but it wasn't really rigid either. It was sloppy. And if I'm going to draw something sloppy, I should just get really sloppy. Although it looks a little bit like she peed herself down there. Well, better pee than red. It's all the, yeah, it's her birthday. Oh, it's lifting some of the blue up too. Maybe we can use this. I mean, why not, right? Like, I already don't like it, so might as well. Might as well. I know, wow. So I'm trying to do some sporadic lifting just to see if we can kind of get that spray texture, which seems kind of nice. Definitely could loosen up what's going on down there. It doesn't seem to want to budge. Or at least it wants to all go into the 2 and not go anywhere else. Let's try moving it elsewhere. Move! I mean, yeah, if she bled yellow elsewhere, more so, it wouldn't look so like she wet herself. Ah, well, oh well. Actually, the face seems like it's going to be okay. I think some of it's lifting up, just not like a lot. Oh well. Honestly, I kind of like it better. No lie. Still not hot about the weird hot pink cupcake cushion I've got going on, but whatever. Maybe. I think I did. Let's try getting salty with this. Expressing our feelings in salt. Okay, this is gonna take a really long time to dry, which is another reason I was kind of hesitant about doing doing spray stuff, because it tends to like vastly increase the dry time. And since I'm doing this live with you guys, I know nobody wants to literally watch paint dry. Wow. It's fine. It's all fine, y'all. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Okay, so I am going to let this dry. I'm going to catch up on the chat. I'm going to change out my water and basically try to make good use of my time. Y'all should go get a sandwich because this is going to take at least 10 minutes to dry. So reading through the chat, I get where Hunter is saying drip more yellow in the background because it would make it look more like it's part of like the overall design. I think that's a big problem with this already, is that everything is very concentrated here in the middle. Ooh, that sounds good, Kino Kitsune. What I was also thinking I could do after this dries is flick some of the colors into the background. So do kind of like a lazy mask and just flick some of the colors onto the background. So that's also a direction that I can move. What's a little frustrating is that some of these colors seem to be more less lift, less movement resistant, less prone to moving when you spray it with water than others. So like the yellow moves a lot. The juniper blue-green moves a lot. Some of the greens move a lot. And then these purples, which should really be moving, are not. They don't want to go anywhere. Just trying to dab up some of the excess water since it's now just going to pool. That is the truth. Did the stream stall out for everybody? It's stalling out for me, but I can just refresh the page. Okay, good. Okay, so it's just a Becca problem. That's fine. I'm used to those. I'm still just trying to absorb some of the extra water without, like, see, it lifts the color, which I don't want to happen. It really does look like here. It just went. Tea. You got time. Kind of tempted to. Do I have a hairdryer? Do you know? Kind of tempted to turn off my audio, leave the music running, and just go at it with a hairdryer. The heater would help. Hairdryer. All right, hairdryer. I'm going to go look for one. I think I have one. I'm not sure. I'm going to turn off my audio so y'all don't have to hear all that. the hairdryer was an excellent idea, and I think I will keep it handy for streams. Don't normally like using them because they can cause papers to warp strangely, or they can push colors, but I don't care about this right now. So that is okay by me. Oakley dokley. All right, let's add some color splats. Splats of color. And I'm tearing it rather than cutting it because I do want it to have an irregular edge to it. And I want it to also allow some areas to get additional color. Trying to loosen some things up. AKA that dang cupcake. Let's see about this. Yep, that's about what in fact, as you saw, I'd never actually opened it before. I've had it for 2 years and I've never opened it. And I think I bought it for that reason and to bring into classes where we need to make progress quickly. But it worked a charm. So that was a good suggestion. Thank you. Okay, those drops are not as big as I would like. So let's try something else. Thank you, Tenor. Yes, better. I usually do, I usually stretch my papers though. I haven't found too many that I like that will not warp on me. Okay, adding in that yellow. All my pieces end up with like color splatter. Trademarks of Becca's work: cat hair and color splatter. I know, and I don't like. Oh, the splatter screen. I know, I don't like it because like watercolor isn't heavy enough to actually drop from it. So I have like a little splatter knocker that I got talked into buying during hands-on creativity at Plaza, and the rep was like, oh yeah, it'll work with watercolor too. Nope, watercolor's not heavy enough to actually get it going. I got on her face, but I don't know if I care. I mean, she's supposed to just be like a little cookie Kara. I just didn't want it to be like you can't see her face because there's so much splatter. Was it Grand Theft Auto that had a song about being just a splatter, splatter, splatter on the windshield of life? Okay, I'm gonna quit with the splatter. It does look better though. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because I think Art Snacks sent me some of the neon colors at one point. How are you enjoying it? That would be great for that kind of a splatter brush. Oh no. 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 Oh no, Hunter, that's that's awful. I mean, if it had been like a fun color too, I mean that's bad. But like it's even worse that it's like raw umber. Yeah, it's like baby poop. I do have Hyacinth Blue and what are you? 507 Ultramarine Violet, which maybe I could do the bottom of the cupcake in. At least then it would be less like pink and pink. That was too much. So what happens when I'm allowed to portion my own? I'm way too generous. So I don't love it, but it's a lot better now with y'all's suggestions, so thank you. What? Joseph says he likes it more before. Well, oh well. I didn't even get a picture of it from before. Just after I've like masked it off. Alright, I think I'm gonna blast that hairdryer again. And then figure out some way to either ink it or tighten up some of the details. I'll probably just ink it. Although some areas do kind of need to be repainted a little bit because they got kind of lost. So I have Calypso Green here. yeah. Wait, I need to mix it. Okay. Joseph sneezing in the background. You are sick. You have GERD. You're not like, you don't have a cold, but you definitely are sick. He's a sick puppy. Don't believe him. Actually, some of the colors look a lot better after the splatter. The more you know. Oh man, if I did it over again, I'd probably do a lot of things differently. Okay, I'm gonna go grab the hot thing that puts the heat, and turn off the audio for a moment. So while I was hair drying, ear drying this, I was pointing out to Joseph that I think what I don't like about it is there really isn't enough actual contrast, that everything is high chroma. And Joseph suggested that we turn on the black and white filter for a second just to see how true that is. And since we have the power of the internet, we can do just that. So come on over and help me do it. Come help me. Okay, so we have our black and white view. This is actually pretty handy. And currently, yeah, we've got a lot. We've got decent contrast up here. We've got dark values, we've got light values, although the background and her dress in color, they're almost contrasting colors, so they stand out. But in black and white, they're basically the same key. And then with the cupcake, this is a mess, a messy mess and a mess. And we should have gone really light with that now that I'm looking at it, and maybe left the bottom of the cupcake darker. So yeah, there's just not really a lot of good contrast here. So I'm going to...
Saturation back to 0.
Oh, okay. So I just turn the saturation. Wow.
No.
Nah, just kidding.
0.
JK. Or we could slowly slide it for everybody to appreciate. Or did it never show it in black and white over there? Who knows? Yeah. I think it's fun to watch it slowly slide. Why you gotta hate? We were gonna do like an ASMR-esque stream, and then Joseph had to be a Joseph. So yeah, you guys saw that we really don't have a lot of contrast going on here. So I just went and grabbed a fresh cup of water. I'm kind of done with throwing color at this. Darkening the background might help. Yes, it might help. Not going to do that today, but maybe another time. What I'm going to do though is I am going to dab up that bit of water that got onto there, and I'm going to use some bleed proof white to add white highlights, and then I think I'm going to ink it. And I know Joseph was like, no, it looks good, don't ink it, but I'm going to do it because I do what I want, because I'm a sassy girl or something like that. I think it's going to look good. I've done this before. Why can't you just trust me? Why does our relationship always have to come to this? He thinks I'm gonna ruin it with inking it. So I'll do the white lights first. How about that? And this too was way too dark, because we ended up going very purple. So let's fix that. He can't even trust me when it comes to my own art. What a jerk. God, way to be a Joseph. Ugh. I even thought about pulling out like some watercolor markers, like the Artex watercolor markers, and using those to kind of faux ink it. I say faux, but I mean I really would be doing the lines of it, so I guess it's actual inking. Ooh, fighting words. Ooh. Oh, head cam has begun again, my favorite. was hoping I could get like a, you know how like with red cherry candies you get like that really intense saturated red shadow? I was really hoping I could get that because that would add some redeeming qualities. But no. I polluted it. Doing the splatter technique is also a little bit like shoving Brer Rabbit into the briar patch, if any of y'all are familiar with that story. It's a thing I claim I hate, but I actually love kind of adding white details or adding inked details enough so that it kind of starts to make sense again. Just like Brer Rabbit asked Brother Bear not to shove him in the briar patch, except that's where he's born. What white am I using? I am using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It is evaporated and been reconstituted and then evaporated again, and it's a very patient white. I could have used the, and you get, oh, that's so cute. It's so cute now that it's like all splattered. And I'm going to fix the camera so that it is not head cam. Please, please just stay. No head cam, please. No problem. It's cute with all the splatter on it. It's like party echo line. I could have used this, but I'm having so many problems with bleeding. I thought using a thicker white would be less of a problem for me. I can't believe I didn't do sprinkles. Sprinkles would have been the way to go. I was not even using my noggin. What kid doesn't like sprinkles? Most kids like sprinkles. In 3rd grade, we had a Sunday party, and the little guy I had a crush on at the time, his mom brought in those silver sprinkles, which apparently had just had a massive recall, so we couldn't use them. And everybody was really salty at the teacher about not being able to use those stupid little silver balls. Like, she was just trying to protect us, but we were mad about it. I mean, I'm going to add another layer on the legs because they basically lost all the color they had originally. So we're going to do a drop of beige. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so he came to school late that day because his mom had forgotten to purchase the thing she promised to purchase, so they swung by the store beforehand. So not only did he walk in showing off these little silver sugar balls like they were a true treasure, but then we got told, no, you can't have them at 10:30 in the morning. I think people also gave him shade all day for like, oh, way to go, your mom bought the wrong candy. The hair's too perfect. Yep. Yep, shame. Children take their candy privileges seriously. Okay, adding a little bit of like, I don't even remember which blue this is. I think it's iris blue just over the white, kind of hoping it'll pick some of that up. If it doesn't, I'll just go all white with that too. So I mentioned earlier in the stream about the ugly stage. Another part of the ugly stage is like if you're not, I got it in the white. If you're not familiar enough with the material you're using, you may not know whether or not it's ever going to be salvageable. I mean, this is not, I'm liking this piece better as we're kind of working it. This is not ever going to be like a great piece. It was a fun stream piece. Y'all gave me some great feedback, things to try. So that's kind of what this piece is. But I definitely am starting to see like the longer I'm kind of picking at it, the better it's coming along. So that's just like inexperience on my part because I don't use the liquid watercolors too often. I'm not super comfortable with them. So I didn't have enough experience to know when I should push and when it's like, okay, no, this is not going to get better. So I didn't realize I needed to keep pushing. I'm also not experienced enough to necessarily feel comfortable mixing colors as much as I should have been mixing colors. So that's another example of like experience or lack thereof being a big detriment to the success of something. So I think next time I work with these, I'm going to try to keep all that in mind, that I need to be more patient with myself. I need to be more patient with the materials. I need to be more willing to mix colors and to take risks. All right. I'm going to blast this with that hairdryer one last time, and then I'm going to add shadows, kind of clean it up inks with the Pigma FB. So for everybody's sanity, off goes the audio. I forgot to turn on my mic again. Hey, ink guy. Just kind of putting the finishing touches on this liquid watercolor illustration. I also replied to Zario Hunter and said that I will be, next time I mess around with this, I'm going to switch over to probably Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press, since I actually like that paper. I like this paper, but I like that paper, and it's a hot press, so it may take the inks differently, the liquid differently. Yep. Thank you for checking, Joseph, because I would have just like finished off the stream talking to nobody with my mic off. A true genius. head is always in the shot. What can I do to fix that? I know, okay, please stay. It probably will not, no. It's gonna pop back up again. Stay. Good. Good. Good, no. Stay, camera arm. Gotta move these. Ooh. It's been raining all day over here. I guess it was a good day to stay inside and paint, even though the rain makes it take a little longer to dry. I think we've lost Senor Joseph. I think he went to go lay down. I'm gonna go check on him in a bit. I'm almost done anyway. I didn't realize he was feeling so bad today. But I'll let him know you said that, Hunter. about waterproof pens? I think I do. I think I have a couple of them. Give me a sec and I can go grab them for you. I think it's like pins for watercolor, or brush pins for watercolor, something like that. Okay. I have a couple. Oh, you grabbed them already. You're so fast. I'm just checking to see which one it is. Yep, that was the one I was grabbing. For Peeps in America, I also have one on the ones available from Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I think that about covers it. Anyway, I think I'm done. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon or late Sunday night or early Monday morning, whichever one it is for you. Thank you guys for helping me paint this. I had a lot of fun. It was a bit of a fight, and I appreciate your input and your suggestions on how it can be improved. I look forward to messing around with liquid watercolor in the future, hopefully getting a little bit better at it, hopefully learning from other artists. No problem. I'm going to drop some links to other artists who I know use liquid watercolor and do it better than I do, in case you want to learn from them. I'll let him know you said that, Tanner. Thank you. That's Nashi's channel. And then who else? I know somebody else does it who I'm subscribed to. I know Frugal Crafter's done some stuff with it. Yeah, I've seen that. I think Waka Watercolor uses it. And y'all are definitely welcome to drop some names in as well of people you know who use liquid watercolor. I think Juicy Ink uses it. Yeah. I was looking for, it's like XXYYZ, something like that. It's a Japanese channel, and I know she uses it, and she does some beautiful watercolor work, but I'm not finding it in my subscription feed right now. So maybe YouTube unsubscribe me. So anyway, thank you guys. Water marker pens. I really like water marker pens. So kind of like the Zig Clean Color Real Brush, or like I Like Arteza makes them and Artex makes them, and they're really fun. They're a lot easier, I think, for me, they're a lot easier than doing this. But I think it's because for me they're less prone to bleeding. So yeah, if you want like the benefits of using liquid watercolors in a much handier form factor, any of the watercolor marker pens that have like the individual nylon bristles are a really good way to go. All right, hope you guys have a, oh man, those are hard to use, I think. Yeah, I have them and I'm not huge on them. I'll just go ahead and stop the stream, but I can keep chatting in chat if y'all want.